Shalom, Machane Stone, and Camp Indoor World. My name is Rabbi Leib, and I'm coming at you from Detroit, Michigan, where I serve as the principal of K-8 at Farber Hebrew Day School, and I'm also the proud father of now 3 Chanichim that are currently enjoying Camp Indoor World, that are normally enjoying Machane Stone. Never did I think I would hear myself say these words, as I myself spent over 20 years in Camp Machane Mosheva of Wild Rose. Back in the day, there was a good rivalry between the two camps, but Baruch Hashem, healthy rivalry. But Baruch Hashem, now both camps are successful, and Baruch Hashem, both camps are doing very well. And I'm proud to say that I am a proud parent of Machane Stone Chanichim. Over the last 10 years, I've watched my Talmidim at Farber go to Stone and come back amazingly inspired and educationally excited, all thanks to the hard work of all the Madrichim, Madrichot, and Yaakov and Esti. So thank you very much. Just a brief thought idea as we enter into the 3 weeks. How important it is to focus and think about Ben Adam L'Chaveiro and how we can improve and how we treat our fellow Jew, fellow friend, fellow person. So in this week's parsha, it's often overlooked. An interesting story with Benot Tzelophchad. People mostly focus on the story of Pinchas that happens early on in the parsha, but later on, after everything is divided up, the lands are given out. They're about to go into the land of Israel, and they describe and tell all the people, the tribes, what lands they're getting. There's a group of women that are forgotten about, the daughters of Tzelophchad, because there's no men in their family, and there's no one to inherit the land for them. And they knew this was wrong, and they had a conundrum. What do they do? Now, very often this story in the Tanakh is paired and focused and talked about with another story, and that is Pesach Sheni, where the Jews missed the first Pesach because they were tummy or they're far away and they couldn't do the Korban Pesach, so they asked Hashem to give another mitzvah of giving the Korban Pesach on the month after Yudal Iyar. So often these two ideas of Benot Tzelophchad and Pesach Sheni are compared and talked about together, because they're both ideas of Torah Sheba'al Peh, the idea that we're able to add on to the Torah, we're able to add on in each generation halachot that are relevant to that generation. However, if you think about what actually happened to Benot Tzelophchad, the more similar story that should be compared to is really the story of Korach, happened a few weeks ago. Because the truth of the matter is, they both had an issue. Benot Tzelophchad didn't like what was happening, it wasn't fair, and Korach didn't like what was happening, and it wasn't fair. And if you know what happened with Korach made a whole rebellion and ended up losing and getting a bunch of people killed in his rebellion. But Benot Tzelophchad, at the end of the day, are rewarded, and an entire mitzvah of this idea of nachlaot, passing to women, right, in the halachic manner that it's done, was given because of their zchut. In their zchut, it was given over. So, what went wrong? What happened here? And if you look carefully, it's not that different. Korach, it says, V'yikach Korach, Vayakumu v'yikahalu. There's 3 different parts going on here that Korach took, and he then got up, and then they congregated against Moshe. Similar story here with Benot Tzelophchad. It says Vatikravna, they came near, V'ta'amodna lifnei Moshe, and they stood in front of Moshe and all the Zakanim, and they pled their case. So what's different? And the answer is, the difference is in approach. Korach said Vayikach, he took for himself. It was all about himself and his cause. It wasn't about the truth. It wasn't about what was happening. There was no reverence for the situation or for Moshe Rabbeinu. It was all to cause a machloket and to take for himself. And the opposite is true by the case of Benot Tzelophchad. It says V'tikravna, V'ta'amodna. There's almost like they drew near, then there was a delay, and they stood in front of, and the Orach Chaim HaKadosh points out that this whole thing schlepped out because even though they knew they were right, they weren't sure they were handling it right. They would handle it right, so they went to get an eitzah, they went to get advice, counsel from the leaders of the tribes, and they wanted to make sure that they were correct and they're doing it the right way before they went and stood in front of Moshe. So there's 2 takeaway messages here. The first takeaway message, that it's important not to be arrogant. It's important to not always think you're right, even if you know you're right and think you're right. It's important to always seek counsel to make sure you're right. And then, if the council agrees with you, to figure out a plan how to best handle it, how to best handle your being right, how to approach it with deference, how to stand politely in front of someone and make your request, as opposed to barging in like Korach and creating a whole rebellion. I know this summer, these past few weeks, you've been learning about the idea of response and resilience, and Mosheva is always about Dugma Ishi and learning from example. And I want to just say that Camp Mosheva itself, Stone, what you guys have been able to accomplish, all your madrichim, starting with Yaakov and Esti on the top, they could have just basically let it go. They didn't have to bring up this whole idea of indoor world, and no one would have complained. People would have been happy. They made a smart decision not to open camp, and people would have been satisfied. The Benot Tzelophchad could have been quiet also. They could have said, you know what? The last time someone spoke up, it didn't go well. It was a whole rebellion. We're not going to say anything. But they knew they were right, and they knew they wanted to do something. And so too, Yaakov and Esti knew they had to do something, and they had a tremendous response, and the resilience that they had, they came forward, and they created this wonderful, again, with all the madrichot, they created this wonderful program for all of our children to benefit from. And I think we have to thank them. Tremendous gratitude and hakaras hatov from all of the parents and teachers and families, to thank them so much for what they've done. But you guys should really think about this when it comes to Ben Adam L'Chavera moving forward in your lives, to not always think that you're correct. Make sure, check that you're correct in the situation that you're in, so you're not starting and creating any machloket. And then two, if you're right, you need to speak up and do it in a polite and respectful manner, so people will respect you and ultimately follow you. Thank you. Have a wonderful Shabbat Shalom, and have a great rest of the summer.